And it's not hard to understand what investors are looking for. The first thing they're looking for is a convertible currency. That's the first thing that we really need. The Naira needs to be fully interchangeable. The unified Naira is an essential baseline that we absolutely need to have. It is extremely important. The PMS is not yet deregulated. Yet we saw all these headlines that the president has removed the subsidy, which was a necessity. And he did indeed remove the subsidy. Let me tell you what the price of PMS is. The price of PMS in Naira per liter is the international price in dollars per ton times the number of Naira that it costs to buy $1. The FX rate, in other words, the multiple, the product of those two numbers is Naira per liter. You can cross off the numerators and the denominators, and it gets you exactly there. So the international price that NNPC and anybody who wants to import is paying now for PMS is indeed without subsidy. But NNPC, because they're allowed to subsidize downstream with upstream, is taking their crude oil sales and using that official FX rate of 7.80, whatever it might be, to buy PMS. The rest of us, and I'm not just talking about Pinnacle, I'm talking about the entire industry. It makes no difference how much capital you have. We're paying $11.40. So that translates, that 400 Naira advantage that NNPC has translates to over 300 Naira per liter. Well, I can't buy product and sell it for, when the wholesale price is 300 Naira cheaper than my cost, obviously I have to continue buying from NNPC, and that's why the effective monopoly still exists today for PMS. Getting the FX right is so critically important. Now, in upstream oil and in downstream oil, we have to look at efficiency, and we have to make sure that if it's a market, that there is someone watching the market. I believe very strongly in markets. I got my master's degree from the University of Chicago, which is the free market school. But regulators help make a free market work effectively. We don't seem to have very effective regulation. We have wonderful laws in Nigeria. We have wonderful regulations, but they're not enforced. They're not enforced. And you all experience this in laws. I mean, traffic laws, I don't have to go too far for people to have their personal experiences about lack of proper enforcement. We need also proper enforcement of a market. We are transitioning from a government-controlled market, okay? And we've had subsidy in place since 1977. It was only just removed now in 2023. That's 46 years of subsidy. So we now have to learn how to deal with the market price. And we must have regulations that enforce and maintain consumer protection. If you have consumer protection, you'll also have wholesale market protection as well. And those are we still need to beef up our regulations to enforce that. But we are transitioning from this import market that was regulated to what is today effectively, because of the FX issue, an import market that is not regulated. And then we're going to transition to a market where we're going to have refiners, domestic refiners, and most people some people even in the industry, and most people outside of the industry think that this is going to be the salvation of the fuel industry in Nigeria when the Dangote refinery becomes operational. I would like someone to tell me how a market with one seller is a market. I always learned that a market has multiple buyers and multiple sellers. Now, you can point to the NNPC refineries that are being revamped, or you could point to the potential Boer refinery in Akwa Ibom, where they want to build a 200,000 barrel a day refinery. But you wouldn't bet too much money on those plants. You would bet money on the largest plant that is going to be operational first, that has there are huge efficiencies of scale. I've also operated 2 refineries in the United States, one in Houston, one in Philadelphia, and I know the refining industry very well as well. And it's very important. The first mover advantage is enormous in refining. It's enormous. And so, anyway, I'm not saying that Dangote will not price their product fairly. They may very well price it at a global market price, or maybe not. The decision will be up to one person. So here we are, and we're navigating rough waters, and we're praying for a successful outcome here, but we're not quite at a deregulated market. When we have a deregulated market, there will never be another shortage. We do have good regulation in the industry with regard to quality, with regard to inspections, with regard to the roles of a typical regulator. You have to have licensing. You can't operate without licensing. You can't operate a retail station without having good leak testing and having good engineering testing, and make sure that there's calibration on the meters and the pumps to make sure no one's getting cheated. There is a tolerance level that's allowed. But we have decent regulation here, but we don't have a market. So please, if the only one thing that I can say that is the most important in terms of being proscriptive is that we have faith in the markets and that we understand if we're going to get foreign investment, massive capital investment is looking for a place like Nigeria to invest in, a place with a lot of demand, a place with great human resources, a place where there's technology, where there's an educated population. We have all of that. What is scaring the investors away today? I've worked with about 6 different private equity firms in the US their funds are dedicated only to investing in energy in developing markets. They're going to Cote d'Ivoire. They're going to Senegal. They're going to Ghana. They're staying away from Nigeria. You have to ask yourself why. What can we do to change that mentality to allow this investment, to allow the investors to truly trust Nigeria as a place to invest in safely?